So what we want to do is to have some kind of check symbol that we can click here and then add this student. So in order to draw this check symbol, we need this drawing. We need to create a new drawable resource, either an XML file, which is a shape of a drawing like a check, or just add something like an image that can be displayed as a check. And I have those resources here as a contexts.res zip file, which I will make available for you too. So I'll just extract this file, and it will extract here the context.res, and you can see that there are several resources here. All resources here are drawable, so I can just move these files here. So I can just move these resources here into the resources folder of my application. So I have my project here, the contacts folder. Then within the project, the contacts folder, I have the app folder, and then source. And then on the source we have main, and in main we have Java, which is the Java code, and res, where the resources are. So I can just move those guys here. And it asks if I want to replace those files or ignore or stop. So I'll just replace everything. So I just replaced everything. But you can see that as soon as I replaced everything, now it has the drawable folder with all those files. And you can see that those files have several different resolutions. That's good enough for me. I'm happy with that. So for example, the confirm PNG file, you can open it and it's a check button. That's the guy I want to use. Okay, so that's the guy I want to use. But before doing the changes and showing the confirm button as an action in our menu, I just want to run my code again and see that there's something going wrong just after I copied the drawable folder. So let's see what happens. Oh, it's complaining about the XML file. It's complaining about the drawable button background. Remember, we draw this. It's a novel that we created within the drawable folder. Well, when I replaced the drawable folder, I erased the file. Sorry about that. So I could copy the files one by one, but I didn't want to do it by hand because it would take forever, and it would be just easier for me to create the file again because it's a simple file. So let's create the button background file again. So I'll just hit right click, new drawable resource. The name of the drawable resource was button background. Okay, and that was a shape. Remember, it was a shape. Sorry, I did it wrong. So shape, and the shape type was oval, true, and there was a solid color. The color was red. Okay, that was the guy that we had here, the button background. So now that I save this file again, notice that the ID exists and it's compiling now. So you see, even the XML file, which has references by ID, it doesn't compile. It doesn't allow your application to compile, which is one more step of safety to know that our code, whenever deployed, it's going to run, that some types of errors, like those bindings, are not going to fail during runtime, because during compilation time, the build catches those errors, and that's pretty important. You see, it's like a compiled XML file, and it is pretty much that. It compiles and generates the R class, and through the R class, it locates the IDs, doesn't locate the IDs, and complains to us. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to create a drawable after I just moved all the PNG files that we want to use. We can run the application and see that it's working as it was before. Oops, so it's not working because it's not doing the full deploy. So let me just stop and do the full deploy of my application. Build, I'll just clean from scratch. I'll just build the APK. And now I can open the application. And you can see that even after building the APK file, there's something wrong going on. So what I'm going to do is run a clean build. So clean the project and rebuild the project. Now I can just build the APK file, be sure that the application is not running, and then finally run the project. So now I have my application. So you see, sometimes building the APK file is enough, sometimes you have to do a clean build. Because we had a compilation error, the APK file was still messed up. So I had to clean the project, rebuild it, and then be sure that the APK file was good, in good quality, was deployable, and now it's deployable. I can click the plus button, we can see the OK pretty ugly here, and now we can change it to a resource. So the first thing that we did was copy all the drawable images, and of course, if you don't replace the XML file, if you don't remove it, you don't need to recreate the button background again. But I just suggest you to move and create the file again, or if you want to, you can copy by hand, one by one, each folder, without replacing the folder. And now what we want to do is go back to our menu, and in our menu, what we want to do now is to where is it? Here. I want to define what is the icon that I'm going to use. And the icon is in the drawable folder. In the drawable folder, we have the confirm, right? IC icon confirm. That's the icon that I want to show. So I can close my application, just to be sure. I'll just close the application. Save and try to run. You go back, click plus, and you see that there's no changes here. So the thing is, this by default, every menu option in the options menu is an option, which makes total sense. You are creating an options menu by default. Every item that you create is an option. So what you want to say is that actually this guy here, this guy is not an option. This guy here is an action. So this guy here, this one, should be shown as an action. Show as action. And that should happen always. We want to show this guy, this option, as an action. Always. Not sometimes, just always. We always want to show it as an action. So in order to do so, you see that it's complaining that there's no Android show as action. You can go over the mouse and it says, oh, sorry, this guy here is not the one you want to use. It's not that show as action is the one we want to use. The namespace that we want to use is not Android, it's app. But if you take a look here, we just have defined the namespace of the Android. We haven't defined the app namespace. So let's define the app namespace. Let's just hit return, try app, and there's a shortcut, app and S, app namespace. Please add the app namespace for me. And here it is, the app namespace for us. It's written. So now the title and the icon comes from the Android namespace, and the show as action comes from the app namespace. So I can save, I can close my application, just because I don't want to keep rebuilding it every time. So just close the application and try to run it again. Now with show as action always. Please. So I can click the plus button and see that we have the action button here. So notice that I took care and closed my application just to be sure that it would reload that resource. Sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. It depends on your application state, on what has been loaded, what hasn't, which type of modification we did, and so on. So in my situation, I'll try to close it as much as I can because it's pretty easy to go to the second form, so to the second activity, which is the form. So you see here, now we have this guy, this action menu, this action in the options menu. The naming is pretty ugly, but it makes sense. It's the options menu here, and in our case, we are not adding an option, it's an action. So we have the action here, but, well, it doesn't do anything. The save button does something, but the plus button doesn't, the OK option, the action OK here, doesn't do anything. So we need to act upon its click. So if we click here, we need to do something. We want to finish the screen and show the toast, and then we can remove the save button here. So that's what we are going to do next.